The End Report Pregame Show, sponsored by Berry Law and Chadron State College.
Welcome back live to 10-11's End Report Pregame Show. We're counting you down to Nebraska versus Iowa, which you can watch right here on 10-11, a CBS broadcast. That's pretty fun. Under a minute to go, or an hour to go until this game begins. Official kickoff time, if you need to know, is 11:08. I'm now joined live on the field by the Athletics Mitch Sherman. Mitch, thanks for joining me on this chilly day.
Yeah, great to be here.
But I guess it's pretty on brand for Nebraska, Iowa to be played in a really cold game.
You wouldn't want it to be anything other than this. I mean, it's warmer than some of these games have been. We don't have that vicious north wind at this moment. I know there's some precip coming in, and maybe it'll get worse as the game goes on. Those games where you get into the third and the fourth quarter and the weather starts to get worse and maybe some snow starts to fall, there have been some legendary days at Memorial Stadium where that kind of scenario has unfolded, so maybe we'll see something like that in the second half today.
I think everybody's expecting a close game, Mitch. Tell me about TJ Lateef and how he's managed these last couple of games, being inserted into Nebraska's starting lineup and having to guide this offense with Dylan Raiola hurt.
Yeah, since the first time we saw him, right when Dylan got hurt on November 1st against USC, and he was thrown into a difficult situation in the second half of that game when he hadn't, you prepare all week to be one snap away, but until you know that it's your turn, I think it's different. It hits different. So in that game, I think we saw him a little bit disoriented on the final 4 or 5 drives. But since then, I think his composure has been fantastic. He went into one road environment that wasn't so hostile. Nebraska stayed on schedule at the Rose Bowl against UCLA, and he played almost a perfect game out there in Los Angeles. And then last week at Penn State, of course, was a different story. Penn State's defense created problems for Nebraska, but even with that, I didn't think TJ was the problem. He wasn't out there committing careless turnovers. He kept things in front of him. I thought his head was good throughout that game. He made smart decisions. Just didn't have enough. There wasn't enough for Nebraska from a team-wide perspective to stay in that game.
Now, Mitch, both these teams have the exact same record, 7-4. They're both going to a bowl game. How do you think the Huskers stack up against this Iowa team? I'm a little concerned about what's going to happen on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big concern for Nebraska, because when it's gone into games where the opponent has appeared to have an advantage at the line of scrimmage, and I'm talking mainly about Michigan, USC, and Penn State, it's played out just that way, and it's played out in a way that I think probably was like a worst case scenario. Not the outcomes of the game. Of course, USC and Michigan were close games for Nebraska, but the way it went at the line of scrimmage, Nebraska wasn't able to hold up in those games, especially on the defensive side for Nebraska, and the ability to control the run game of those teams. And Minnesota, was an unexpected debacle for Nebraska, and that was at the line of scrimmage as well. So that's what Iowa does. Iowa is built to play football like Minnesota did in that 24-6 win against the Huskers in Minneapolis, and then they aspire to be the type of team that we saw in State College last year from Penn State.
Absolutely. That's Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Boy, Tampa sounds pretty good right now.
Tampa would be nice, wouldn't it?
That's a bold possibility. We'll talk about some of that stuff later on the End Report Pregame Show. You're watching 10-11. Stay tuned. We have more of our show coming up right after this.